Good morning. Greetings from BMS College of Engineering, Bangalore. In this module, we shall see a very important concept on in signal processing, and with regard to the discrete time systems, it is known as the convolution sum. Convolution sum. So convolution sum is actually a mathematical tool. That helps us compute the output of a system given a system input. So let's consider we have a system with input xn, and we want to compute the output yn, and the system is defined by its impulse response. So this is a linear time invariant system, an LTI system, and in h of n, the system impulse response is known and the input is also known. And the unknown parameter is our output yn. So our aim is to compute the output yn given the input to the system and the system which is specified by impulse response. Of course, we may have other methods of representing the system, but we can always obtain the impulse response of the system. So we take the problem statement as given the system impulse response and the input to the system, how do we compute the output? And one more important component is that the type of system that we're considering is a linear time invariant system. So because it's a time invariant system, how do we define our input, our impulse response? So to the system, if I give an input xn, I am getting the output as the impulse response h of n. So my input to the system is a unit impulse function delta n. The output of the system is hn, or I can also tell hn is the response of the system to an input delta n. And because the system is linear, if I multiply my input by some constant a times delta n, my output is going to be a times h of n, because the system is linear. And because the system is time invariant, if I give a delayed input, so n minus n naught, my output is going to be h of n minus n naught, because the system is time invariant. Combining above both, so a times delta n minus n naught will result in the output of the system being a times h of n minus n naught. These are the properties of the system because it's a linear time invariant system. Now, knowing these properties of the system, how do I compute the output for any input x of n? So if I am given an input x of n, let us say x of 0, x1, x2, x3, and so on. And this corresponds to, say, my origin. We know that this can be written in another method as this is nothing but x of 0 at n equal to 0, so x of n, plus it is x1 at n equal to 1, which is x of n minus 1, plus x2 delta x2 delta n minus 2, and so on. Or in general, so this is because if I want to sketch my signal xn, I know that I can sketch it as, say, x0 delta n, say x1 delta n minus 1, say x2 delta n minus 2, x3 delta n minus 3, and so on. Or in general, any signal, any discrete time signal, xn can be represented as x of n equal to sigma m equal to, say, minus infinity to infinity x of m delta n minus n. This is representing any signal xn as a weighted sum of the weights are given by the actual value of the signal at that instant of time, and delta n minus m, the as weighted sum of shifted impulses. So this, using this representation, we can represent any signal xn. So now our aim is to compute the output of the system y of n, which is nothing but response of the system to any input x of n. And now, since my input, any signal xn can be represented by this method as a weighted sum of shifted impulse functions, I can write, instead of my input xn, let me write it in this form: m equal to minus infinity to infinity x of m delta n minus m. Now how do we, what is delta m? I mean x of m. X of m is the value of the sequence at n equal to m. So it is a constant. It can be treated as a constant. And because the system is linear, if I instead of finding the response to a sum of inputs, I can always find the response to each input and then add it, because the system is linear. So this can be now represented as sigma m equal to minus infinity to infinity response to x of m delta n minus m. This is because the system is linear. And now x of m we know is a constant, the value of the signal at n equal to m. And hence I can once again, by using the linearity property, I can write it as x of m and response to delta n minus m. Sorry. So I have my output yn given by sigma m equal to minus infinity to infinity x of m. And what's the response to delta n minus m? It is an impulse function delayed by m, and because the system is time invariant, we have the response to delta n minus m as h of n minus m, where h of m is the impulse response of the system. So this is our final result. So using this summation, we can compute the output of the system for any input x of m given the impulse response. So the notation is this summation is known as the convolution sum. The summation is known as the convolution sum, and I can write as a symbol for convolution, we have it as x of n convolved with h of n. And when I have the summation, the convolution sum, this representation x of n convolved with h of n, it actually implies the summation sigma m equal to minus infinity to infinity x of n h of n minus m. Now, let us see what are the different methods of evaluating the above sum. Methods of evaluating convolution sum. One is by direct equation, by the above sum. The second is by using a graphical method where we try to plot the signals and try to compute the result. Next is by a suitable matrix multiplication. Next is by using the Z transform. And next is by using the discrete Fourier transform and the inverse discrete Fourier transform. So these are some of the methods by which we can compute the convolution sum. So let's take an example. Let's take an example to compute the convolution of certain sequences. So as a first example, let us take x of n is the unit impulse function un, and let us say the impulse response hn is also an unit impulse function un. So our aim is to obtain the convolution of the input sequence being. So I have a situation where the input to the system is a unit step function. The impulse response is also a unit step function, and my aim is to compute the output yn. And for this, let's consider the equation, direct equation. So we have by convolution sum, we have the result as sigma minus infinity to infinity h of m x of n minus m. And in the given example, what we have is h of m. h of m is nothing but u of m, and x of n is also un, so this becomes u of n minus m. And u of m, what is let us, before we compute this, let us try to sketch u of m. Let's try to sketch the two functions. M. So u of m is 1. U of m is the unit impulse function. So 1 for m greater than or equal to 0 and 0 for m less than 0. Similarly, let us sketch u of n minus m. U of n minus m. What I get is u of n minus m is 1 for n minus m greater than or equal to 0 and 0 otherwise. So it is 1 for n minus m greater than or equal to 0, or u of n minus m is 1 for minus m greater than or equal to minus n, and 0 otherwise. Now if I divide this inequality by minus sign, I then get it as u of n minus m is equal to 1 for, when I divide by minus sign, the inequality changes as from greater than or equal to, it becomes less than or equal to, and 0 otherwise. So what we have is u of n minus 1 is 1 for n less than or equal to n. So let us say this is my n, and it is going to be 1 for n m less than or equal to, and 0 otherwise. So this is my u of n minus m. It is 1. So now if I go back to my summation, what I have is my output. Let's get the summation. So we want to evaluate the summation. And this is my y of n, my output y of n. The presence of u of n makes we have just now sketched, and we find that the lower limit becomes m equal to 0, and u of n minus m makes my upper limit to n. And both of them, un and u of n minus m, are both 1, and hence this is what we have. So now let's try to compute it. For n equal to 0, it is going to be 0 to 0. So y0 is going to be a 1. For n equal to 2, it is going to be, for n equal to 1, it is 0. 1 plus 1, that is going to be a 2. 1 plus 1 plus 1, that's going to be a 3, and so on, and so on. And so I can write my result as, this is n plus 1 times u of n. So n equal to 0, n equal to 0, it's a 1. N equal to 1, it's a 2, and so on. So when I sketch the result, when I sketch the result, what we have is, if I have my x of n is u of n, u of n. This is getting convolved with h of n, with h of n, which is also u of n. And when I convolve this, I am getting the result, the convolved sequence, the result as, my result is 1 for n equal to 0, then 2 for n equal to 1, 3 for n equal to 2, 4, and so on. This is my convolved sequence. So u of n convolved with u of n. This is the result we got by using the direct equation. So this is one method of computing the convolution sum. As a second method, we'll try to do the same method by using the graphical method of convolution. Let's perform convolution of by using the graphical method. By using the graphical method. So as the sum, as we have the convolution sum given by m equal to minus infinity to infinity x of m h of n minus n. So now, for performing the convolution by using the graphical method, as a first step, we sketch x of m and h of m. Second step, we sketch, say, h of minus m. Step 3, we just compute the product. We compute the product sigma x of m h of minus m. So when n equal to 0, what is it? This is sigma h x of m h of minus m. And when I evaluate this summation, I get y of 0. Next step, to compute y1, I put n equal to 1. And what I have to do is, I have to evaluate the summation x of m h of 1 minus m, and that is going to give me y of 1. So I do a right shift of h of minus m by 1, and then I evaluate the sum of the product, and I get the result. So this is the graphical method of computing, performing, and this way I proceed with right shift, and similarly I do a left shift, and I get the result. And then we get the complete result by the graphical method. So in some cases, graphical method is easier. It's better to know different methods of computing convolution. So let's take the same example. Let us take the example as, say, perform graphical convolution of u of n with u of n. So we want to perform the graphical convolution of u of n with u of n. This is our problem. So let us sketch, as a step 1, we need to sketch u of n. So it's 1. This is u of n. And I also need to sketch h of minus m. H of m. So let me sketch first h of m. They're all of magnitude 1. The second step, this was my step 1. First step. Second step is to sketch h of minus m. So let me sketch h of minus m, which is going to be of flipping h of m about the vertical axis, and what I get is magnitude 1. So once I sketch this, I compute the product u of m into h of minus m, and then take the sum of the product. So step 3, we sketch, say, x of m, h of minus m. Let me sketch the product. Now when I sketch the product, what I find, x of m is 0 for all negative values, so it's going to be 0. And h of minus m is 0 for all positive values. So the only non-zero value occurs at m equal to 0. And so I have the product as 1 for n equal to 0 and all other terms being 0. So this is the product x of m, h of minus m. Directly from the equation, from the convolution sum, we have, when I put n equal to 0, this is what I get. And now after sketching the product, I need to compute the sum. I need to compute the sum of the above product. And what's the sum of the above product? Y of 0, I get the value of the output at n equal to 0 by evaluating the sum of the product, x of m, h of minus m. So here I have only one value, non-zero value, and that is 1. So the product, the sum of the product is going to be 1. So hence we have my one result. I've computed one value of the output of the convolution sum, y0 equal to 1. Let me take the next step. Say I want to compute y of 1. I want to compute y of 1. So I put n equal to 1 in the convolution sum. And I need to compute the product of x of m with h of 1 minus m. So let me now sketch h of 1 minus m. And what is h of 1 minus m? It is a right shift of h of minus m by 1 because it's 1 minus m. So when I do a right shift of h of minus m by 1, this is what I get, a value being 1. And when after sketching this, I now need to sketch the product. Let me sketch the product x of m into h of 1 minus m. When I sketch the product, what I get is, let me for ease, let me sketch, this is h of 1 minus m, and let me sketch my let me bring down this so that we can see. This is my h of u of m, or this is u of m, or which is nothing but x of m. So this is my u of m, which is x of m in this particular example. When I take the product, it's 0 here. U of m is 0 for m less than 0, and this is here. So when I take the product, I have two non-zero values. So at n equal to 0 and at n equal to 1. And all others, the product is going to be 0. So now to compute y of 1, just by the convolution sum, I have to take the summation of the product. Sum of the product x of m, h of 1 minus m. And that is going to give me 1 plus 1, that is 2. Similarly, now to compute say y for any y of 2, I need to put n equal to 2. Y of 2, I put n equal to 2. So the next step, is to sketch h of 2 minus n. And what is h of 2 minus n? It is sketching h of m and giving a right shift of 2. H of minus m, a right shift by 2. And if I take the product, I now take the product x of n, h of 2 minus m. What does the product give me? The product gives me 3 non-zero values, 1, 2, and everything else is 0. And hence, we now have y of 2 as sigma x of m, h of 2 minus m, which is 1 plus 1 plus 1, and that is 3. So extending the above observation, we can conclude that yn is equal to n plus 1 u of n. The same result when we do by using the equation or by the graphical method, we get the same result. So we have seen the graphical method, and by using the equation. We'll take one more example. Let's take another example, and that is say computing by the matrix method. And matrix method of the third method of computing the convolution sum, the matrix method of computing the convolution sum. And this method is especially useful when both the sequences are of short finite duration. When if both sequence x of n and h of n are of short finite duration, then the matrix method becomes convenient. So as an example, let's take say x of n is some sequence, say 1, 2, 3, 4, and let us take sequence h of n is say 2, 4, 6. And our aim is to obtain y of n given by the convolution of x of n with h of n. So this becomes our requirement. We want to compute the output of the system. So I have a system. My input is x of n. My system has an impulse response. It's a finite duration h of n, and I want to compute yn. So if I try to do, and my aim is to compute it as a matrix multiplication. So now we let's see how to form the matrix. So y of n is given by the product of two matrices. Let us say my h of n. What is my h of n? H of n is 2, 4, 6. 2, 4, 6. And what is my x of n? 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now to have to be able to perform the multiplication, this matrix needs to have 3 columns. So I form the second column now. How do I form the second column? I give a vertical shift of my first column shifted by 1. So I'm going to get 1, 2, 3, 4. And I need 3 columns. So I need to create one more column. Once again, I give one more vertical shift of the previous column and fill all empty spaces by 0. So this is my matrix. So now I need to compute the multiplication, and this multiplication is going to give me the convolved sequence convolution of the sequence. So this is going to give me this row into this column. So this is going to be a 2. This is going to be 2 2s are 4 plus 4, that is 8. I next have 6 plus 4, 10. No, 6 plus 4 2s are 8. 8 and 6, 14 plus 6, 20. Proceeding this way, we will get it as 32, 34, and 24. Last column, 6 4 the 24. So this is my convolution. So the matrix method of convolution is simple when we have small finite duration sequences. So what is an observation here? We have, if I look at my sequence xn, xn is of length 4. Xn is of length 4 and my impulse response Hn is of length 3. And my convolve sequence, if I take, it is of length 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. My convolve sequence Yn is of length 6. In general, if Xn is of length, or if Xn is of length L and say Hn is of length M, then the convolve sequence is of length L plus M minus 1. So 4 plus 3 minus 1 is the length of the convolve sequence. So this is our result, performing convolution by as a multiplication of suitable matrices. So this method we can apply for any sequence. Moving forward, let us take the same example, and let us try to do the same convolution by another method, which is the Z transform method. So let's take the same example. So let's take the same example, x of n and h of n, and let's try to compute the convolution by Z transform. The next method, the fourth method of performing convolution, and that is by using the Z transform. And how do we compute it? By using the Z transform. Say we have a sequence xn, we compute its Z transform x of z, and then we have the sequence xn, we compute its Z transform h of z, and then my output y of z is given by x of z into h of z, and then I do the inverse Z transform of yz, and then I get my convolved sequence yn, the convolution sum yn. So let's try to use the Z transform to compute this convolution sum. So I have my sequence x of n, and what is my x of z? In this case, x of n can be identified as 1 plus 2 delta n minus 1. I can identify my input x of n as 1 2 3 4, which say the origin is here. This can be identified as 1 plus 2 delta n minus 1 plus 3 delta n minus 2 plus 4 delta n minus 3. And so my h of x of z, the Z transform of xn, is now going to be 1 plus 2z inverse plus 3z minus 2 plus 4z minus 3. Similarly, I get my h of z as 2 plus 4z inverse plus 6 z minus 2. And then what is my y of z? Y of z is going to be the product of the two. So 1 plus 2 z inverse plus 3 z power minus 2 plus 4 z power minus 3 into 2 plus 4 z inverse plus 6 z power minus 2. And when I compute this product, I am going to get my constant as the first term is going to be 1 into 2, that is 2. The second term, z inverse term, I'm going to have it as 2z inverse into 2 plus 4z inverse into 1, that is going to give me plus 8z inverse. And similarly, when I continue and evaluate it, I'm going to get to 20 z power minus 2 plus 32 z power minus 3 plus 34 z power minus 4, and the last term is going to be plus 24 z power 24 z power minus 5. So this is the product, and I can compute my z transform as the convolution sum as the inverse z transform of y of z, then which gives me 2, 8, 20, 32, 34, 24. So this is one method of. So we can also compute the z transform in the convolution sum using the z transform, because multiplication is always easier than convolution. So this is another method of performing the convolution sum. The other method, another method of computing the convolution sum, the fifth method is by using the discrete time Fourier transform DFT and the inverse DFT. Inverse DFT, wherein if I am given a sequence xn, the DFT is given by, the endpoint DFT is given by sigma k equal to 0 to n minus 1 x of n e to the power of minus j 2 pi nk by n, and this is known as the x of k. And similarly, if h of n has the discrete time Fourier transform h of k, then we have the output y of n has the discrete time Fourier transform y of k, and this is given by x of k into h of k. So once I get y of k, which is a product, I can compute the inverse, the n point. I can compute the n point inverse discrete Fourier transform of y of k, and I will get my, that will give me my convolve sequence yn. Now we shall be discussing the discrete Fourier transform in a module later on, and hence we will take up this later. But for completeness, we can attempt to do this problem now. Let us take the help of MATLAB in computing the endpoint DFT. Now here we are given the sequence x of n as, considering the same example, 1, 2, 3, 4 x of n, and h of n is say 2, 4, 6. So now we know that the convolution yn is going to, convolution of the above two sequence is going to be a sequence of length 6. So now I need to compute a 6-point DFT, the 6-point DFT of x of n, and that gives me x of k. Similarly, I compute a 6-point DFT of h of n, and that gives me h of k. Then I take the pointwise product, and then I get my y of k. Y of k is given by the product x of k into h of k. And then I take the inverse DFT, of this product of y of k, and that will give me y of n. So Since computing a DFT, computing a 6-point DFT of the above sequences takes a lot of computational time. Let's try to take the help of MATLAB, and of course we have a separate lecture later on for the discrete Fourier transform. So let's compute using MATLAB. This particular example, because it's computationally intensive. So I have my sequence xn as 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I have my sequence hn as 2, 4, 6. Now let me compute x of k given by the 6-point DFT of x of n. So I want to compute the 6-point DFT of x of n, and let me take h of k. H of k is again the 6-point DFT of hn. So I have computed my 6-point DFT and the 6-point DFT of h of k. Now my output y of k is given by the product of x of k. I compute the product of xk and hk. Then how do I get my yn, the convolution sum? Yn is given by the inverse discrete time Fourier transform. Again a 6-point. Of course, this we need not mention. It will still give the result as a 6-point DFT. Let's check the result. I get the same result: 2, 8, 20, 32, 34, 24. So I can also compute the convolution by using the DFT, the suitable point. Here, the most important component is to take the correct point DFT, the 6-point DFT, because my result is going to be of length 6. 6-point DFT of x of k, 6-point DFT of h of k. Take the product and take the IDFT. Now, if you want to see what is x of k, the 6-point DFT, this is my, they're going to be complex. The first value being 10, then minus 3.5, minus 4.33j, and so on. And similarly, if I want to see h of k, and this is my h of k, and the product yk is in this manner. They're all complex, but my result, I get the same result by using convolution suitable DFT and IDFT. So we have seen how to compute the convolution sum by using suitable DFT and IDFT. Of course, MATLAB has an inbuilt command for computing the convolution. I simply have convol x of n comma h of n, and I get the same result: 2, 8, 20, 32, 34, 24. So this is also another method of computing convolution, but of course we need to use the tool provide the engineering tool MATLAB. So this is another method of computing. So we have seen that when I have the same sequence, I can also compute the convolution sum using suitable n-point DFT and IDFT. So only thing is we need to take n as the length of the sequence xn plus the length of the sequence hn minus 1. This is extremely important. If I do not take the correct value of n, then I will not be able to perform the convolution sum. So in the next module, we will see certain properties of convolution sum and also the types of convolution. What are the different types of, we have the linear or the circular convolution. In the next module, we shall see that. In the next module, we shall see the properties of convolution sum. The properties of convolution sum and the types of convolution and what are the different methods of computing. We have seen the methods of computing and when certain methods are beneficial over others. So thank you.